First of all, again, thank you for covering our third week Stars for Impact for our fight against COVID. These are again very new approaches, and we were just discussing with one of the startup that we have selected, who would be the first one that we'll go to. New approaches as we go forward, there are which would have an impact as a comprehensive fight that will take, and innovations that will play the role here. So today we have two broad spectrum, if I may say so. One is the very first one that we want to talk about largely, as one would call it, a stem cell based approach, for patients towards the treatment of patients, which is a very important one. So till now we have spoken about many other aspects, ventilators, screening, and other aspects. As we go towards that, now people are talking about, once we have more patients and once we have more severely affected patients, how are we going to treat them? There are efforts that people have looked at hydroxychloroquine. There are efforts people are looking at repurposing other drugs. There are people who are looking at the vaccine as an approach as well for prevention of it as we go forward. At the same time, a very interesting approach worldwide which has emerged is actually a stem cell approach, where you actually take in mesenchymal stem cells and then use different possibly ways to actually implant those cells and have those cells play different roles of, if I may not wrong, immunomodulatory and other roles, so that they can actually help the situation of patients who are severely affected. And we have one of our stars today who is from Stempeutics, Dr. Pawan, who actually Stempeutics is one of the first exciting startup in stem cell which has happened, have done phenomenal amount of work in stem cells. And because of the readiness with stem cells, they have been quickly able to try something in the stem cell approach for treatment in COVID patients, as well as now they are partnering in the EU worldwide clinical trial as they are doing it. So wow. I think with that background, I will introduce Dr. Pawan here, who has been a good friend as well, to share things about Stempeutics.
Yeah, thank you, Taslim, for your kind introduction. And good afternoon to everybody. So first, before I go ahead with the technical thing about stem cells in COVID-19, I will just give a brief about our organization. If you want, I can also share the slides also.
Yeah, sure, please.
Yeah. So actually, we are a biotech company focusing on bone marrow derived mesenchymal stem cells or stromal cells derived from healthy voluntary donors. We are founded in 2006 by the Manipal Education and the Medical Group, and we have filed 60 plus patents across 18 countries with 75 peer-reviewed international publications. We are focusing on different indications like the critical limb ischemia due to Berger disease, which we have got a conditional marketing approval, and now we are conducting a phase 4 post-marketing surveillance study. Apart from that, we are conducting 3 phase 3 clinical trials. One is critical limb ischemia due to atherosclerosis, PAD. And the second indication is osteoarthritis of the knee joint. And the third indication is non-healing diabetic foot ulcer. And apart from that, we are also conducting a phase 1 bar 2 clinical trial in perianal fistula due to Crohn's disease. So with this actually small background, I would like to go straight away to the Stempeutics cell technology, which we are proposing to be used for this indication. So I'll try to give it a full screen. So in this, actually, we do screen multiple donors, and we do all the possible infectious disease markers testing after taking ethics committee approval. And then we do select 3 donors, 3 actually healthy donors. We aspirate 60 ml of bone marrow, and we create the master cell bank, which is the individual cell bank of actually the 3 donors. Then we pool the cells and we make a working cell bank at Passage 5, and then we make our final product at Passage 5, which is a Stempeutics cell product, which is used for different clinical trials. So actually, this is an allogenic cryopreserved off-the-shelf product, and plus we have been awarded the ATMP classification in Europe, and we have got the orphan drug designation by Europe for the Berger disease. We have tested this product in 347 plus patients in different indications, and there is no serious adverse events or adverse events related to the drug. The safety of our product is clearly established. And plus this also technology has been reviewed by EMA, by US FDA, and by PMDA in Japan. So what is the mechanism of action of our stem cells in ARDS? The main action is because of this paracrine factors, which have the modulation for anti-inflammatory effect on the host cells, especially the alveolar epithelial cells. And plus also there is a reduction in the alveolar epithelial permeability in the lung, which does reduce the pulmonary edema. And there is an increased rate of the alveolar fluid clearance. And lastly, there can be because of enhancement of the host mononuclear cell phagocytic system, and it actually leads to anti-apoptotic effects. Then apart from this paracrine action, there may be an alternative mechanism also, like that of mitochondrial transfer. MSC may be able to affect tissue repair through the direct transfer of the mitochondrial DNA to host cells, and this leads to repair of the lungs. And also lastly, also the extracellular vesicles, including exosomes and microvesicles, may be responsible for the effect of the MSCs. So now the important thing is that the US FDA has actually given to different companies, like that Mesoblast, which is a US company of stem cells, and also Pluristem, which is an Israeli company, also doing trials in US and for the use for a compassionate use and expanded access program for use of the MSCs in actually COVID-19 induced ARDS patients. For the data, I will be coming in the next few slides. This is the characterization of our stem cell, which first is the anti-inflammatory effect. Which actually can be seen that actually stem cell exhibits anti-inflammatory activity, which is enhanced upon priming with the inflammatory cytokines, especially interferon gamma and plus TNF alpha. We can see once the cells are primed to these inflammatory cytokines, there is an increased expression of the anti-inflammatory markers, like that of IgO and PGE2, which is bound to work in an ARDS COVID-19 induced scenario.
Right.
And actually, the next mechanism of action is the immunoregulatory properties. Stem cell has a capacity to suppress the proliferation of immune cells in an MLR reaction, and we have seen that there is a change in the level of PGE2 secreted by actually stem cell in different MLR dilutions, which can be seen in this figure C. So actually this feature of stem cell implicates a possible role in suppressing immune cells around the lung region and reducing the cytokine storm, causing the lung damage in COVID-19 ARDS patients. Plus also stem cell secretes increased amount of this angiopoietin-1, and it has shown that angiopoietin-1 has shown to be effective in this reducing the alveolar inflammation and lung permeability, which actually will be effective in cases of ARDS. And plus, apart from that, we can show the biodistribution of our cells once it has been injected to this female nude rat. We can see that immediately on day 1, the cells are being localized actually to the lungs. And plus, actually within day 4, it is been widely distributed in the whole body of this rat. And actually by around the day actually 9 or 10, it actually completely disappears. So this active stem cell after the IV administration is actually localized to the lungs, and this may facilitate the anti-inflammatory effect, immunomodulation effect, and it may lead to the lung repair in ARDS patients. This is the safety profile of our cells. We can see that we have done all the possible preclinical safety as per the existing for the regulations, and we have shown the cells are non-toxic, non-genotoxic, non-tumorigenic, non-immunogenic, and non-teratogenic. Then we have done around 347 patients trial across different indications by different routes of injection, and cells are found to be completely safe without any adverse events related actually to the drugs. This is actually the study which has been published, which has been done in China in the cases of pneumonia because of COVID-19, published by Leng et al. In 2020, where a total of 10 patients has taken into the trial. and in which actually the actual case 1 to case 7, actually these patients, they did receive the MSCs at the dose of 1 million cells per kg body weight. And plus, it was found that all these patients who had received MSCs, they actually survived and they improved and they were discharged from the hospital. But all the 3 control patients who received the placebo, they did not recover, and actually the disease advanced. So it was seen that in these patients which have been given the MSCs, there was a decrease in the level of TNF alpha, which is the inflammatory cytokine, and there was an increase in the interleukin 10, which was an anti-inflammatory cytokine in these patients. So it actually clearly shows that MSCs has got a role in actually COVID-19 induced pneumonia patients.
Correct.
And apart from what I was speaking about, this Pluristem company from Israel, actually they had treated 7 patients with ARDS in Israel, and all of these 7 patients were in ICU on actually ventilators. 4 of the patients demonstrated failure of the other organs, including cardiovascular and kidney failure, indicating critical disease and poor prognosis. And after giving the cells, there was 100% survival for all the 7 patients. 6 patients had completed 1 week follow-up, and 7 patients were treated on April 5th. Plus 4 of the 6 patients, after they completed 1 week follow-up, they has shown improvement in their respiratory parameters. And also 3 of the 6 patients, they're in advanced stage of weaning from the ventilators.
Correct.
So the take-home message is all patients survived after administration of placenta-derived MSCs.
Correct. No mortality.
No. There was not even a single patient which had died after giving the cells.
Fantastic.
So, and plus, apart from that, what I was speaking earlier to you, to Taslim, about this Mesoblast for the study, which is an Australian company working in US.
Correct.
They had got a approval from US FDA for use of the compassionate use of the cells in ARDS patients. And they have administered the cells in actually 10 patients in a hospital in actually New York, and all other patients have actually survived and they have improved.
Correct. So I think
so what actually we are proposing now is that actually with you all is a 15 patient study. Which is a prospective randomized open label for a single center dose for a dose ranging study. Correct. In ARDS caused by pneumonia, which includes COVID-19 patients.
Correct.
And we have to select a single government hospital like that, or AIMS in Delhi, or actually some other hospital, where we are going to do about 5 patients in a lower dose of 400 million cells. 5 Correct. Patients in the higher dose of 800 million cells, and 5 patients in the control. And the primary endpoint, what we are looking at, is the ventilator-free days, and also reduction in the mortality of these patients.
Correct.
So why we have selected this dose of 400 and 800 million cells? Because of the reason of what has been published and for the ongoing trials for ARDS patients, because once a patient goes to ARDS, there will be increase in fibrosis of the lungs. So in those cases, they have been seen that what is ongoing, that patients are receiving around 10 million cells per kg body weight, or a fixed dose of 400 to 900 million cells. Correct. So based on that rationale, we have chosen 2 different doses: 400 million cells for 5 patients, and 800 million cells for 5 patients, and control for 5 patients.
Excellent.
So if any questions are there, I will be very happy to answer that.
No. Thank you so much. I think, Dr. Pawan, I think it was very insightful. Definitely fairly technical. So that you wanted to, share with us the scientific rationale behind the approach that is being put up by Stempeutics. Possibly I would say, Shradha, the leading stem cell approach in India for now in terms of treatment because the world is looking towards treatment. And as he indicated, there has been a treatment from Israel company, there has been a treatment approach from a US company, where they have seen a treatment in very severe patients. While we are talking about ventilators, which are not for very serious, now we are talking about very serious patients, and they have seen the early data in their trials have shown that we do not lose individuals. 10 out of 10 survive. So that's a very significant scientific data that those companies have shown. And we are excited that in India, we have a stem cell company which has the credentials in stem cell approaches and has now the capability to do that. So they are at the cusp of testing it, taking the trial where it would be a clinical trial or a clinical study, where under this trial, they can actually attempt to save patients who are possibly at a very severe end of the condition in terms of respiratory disease. So thank you so much, Dr. Pawan, for that.
And one more thing I want to highlight, that we are also part of a consortium in Europe where we are planning to conduct a clinical trial in ARDS patients of COVID-19. And there we are planning to inject around 300 to 400 million cells in each patient. And this trial is around 200 plus patients. Right. And plus that trial is going to start by next month. Okay. And also for these patients, the actual cells will be exported from our organization, and it will be administered to the patients in Europe.
Oh, very, very exciting. I think, yeah. Dr. Pawan. Shradha, before I suggest you to comment on that, just a good news is that Koyo has rolled out its non-invasive ventilator 2 days back. So, and they were there in the first round of the Stars for Impact. So I would see they also somewhere there that potentially they also would be saving lives. Therapeutics also would be saving lives as they go on for the clinical trial. So CCAMP is very excited that they have gotten here. Shradha, back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Pawan. This is very encouraging, and more so as Dr. Taslim was saying that, we would be one of the very few countries which would, use this. So hats off to you. This is great innovation, and we would love to quickly promote this and get it out.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Pawan.
Yeah, okay, then thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So I think to go forward, I think we are looking at shifting the gear. We will be doing a little bit, but this time we have focused on something that also would be very useful in terms of other aspects of the way the disease progresses. Let's say, just like because it's a respiratory disease, there are a lot of other tests other than the diagnostic tests that happen, like there is RT-PCR test that people talk about. But if you go to the next level, there are radiology tests like X-ray and CT scan. And while that happens, because of the health tech capabilities in India, we have now 2 startups coming up next who have been able to use deep learning and machine learning and AI to be able to help with triaging in terms of pre-screening and help the larger radiologists to see and quantify the effect and so on. So this will be a supportive additional capabilities that doctors will be available with. So I think we are very excited to have those with us. Credible actually works with CT scans and assess and learn from CT scans, from large data of CT scans for triaging, as well as with high-risk patients, and also to help quantify based on the visual images and take it forward. So this would be an assistive capabilities from health tech perspective that those will come up. So we are very excited that they are also there. And the next one after there is a different approach, but I'll come to you. But let me go to our colleague from Credible and share about your work. Please keep it to 5 minutes max, otherwise we'll max out in terms of time. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Taslim, for that great introduction. Pleasure to be sharing our work with all of you here. I'm sure all of us here are coming up with different innovative ways to help fight the pandemic of our own. Just to give you a brief introduction, Credible is we are about a 3-year-old company based in Bangalore. Been building artificial intelligence solutions in radiology as our core competence. We already had an existing product in lung CTs, which helps in multiple different conditions, starting with cancer, COPD, fibrotic diseases. When this COVID pandemic kind of hit, we were in a position where a lot of the findings that are related to COVID-19 were already trained and detected by algorithm itself. So it was purely a matter over the last 2 months of being able to refine these algorithms to be able to help in COVID assistance and help hospitals. We are already ready to deploy and already live with a few sites. for the same purpose. And well, we've been lucky to have found partners who've moved as fast as we wanted them to move to help in the pandemic itself. If you don't mind, maybe I'll walk you through a quick presentation of what we are doing. I'll try to keep it short so that I understand we're running a bit out of time, so I'll try to keep it short and move fast. So just to broadly capture this, we are a company that builds AI in radiology. By radiology, we mean CT scans, X-ray scans. Today, our core competencies in CT scans. And the gist of this is that today RT-PCR is the gold standard for testing. And everyone is supposed to be getting an RT-PCR today, but there are lots of issues with RT-PCR, primarily that it is inaccessible. So we are fighting on the inaccessibility issue right now. India's improving and ramping up testing like every other nation, but even then accessibility is an issue. In China, for instance, when accessibility was such a big issue during the early days, they resorted to radiology because radiology is a well-established modality which is available everywhere. And the second is, because of this limited number of accessibility, even though it's not completely inaccessible, are there ways that we can use sort of radiology to be able to pre-screen or understand how badly the patient needs the test when you're trying to ration out tests to those who need it the most. And the other part of RT-PCR itself is that the sensitivity drops, as days after symptom goes up, as increases. So initially it has a 67% given this literature that I have, and over time it just keeps dropping up. So it's very important that we have multiple different modalities to be able to detect these coronavirus patients at the time that they need the most. And CT scan is a great adjunct that way. So it's been proved from studies in China, where they've done this on thousands of studies. Well set example of a nation following this protocol, where they use CT scan and they showed that it has a far better sensitivity and can be a great adjunct for RT-PCR, because at the end of the day, RT-PCR is still the gold standard for testing of COVID patients. And this is primarily where we come in. We've been, like I said, we've been a company that's been around for 3 years. We already have solutions deployed in about 15 sites across India, working with some leading hospitals like Tata Memorial, Max Healthcare, Mahajan Imaging. We've published multiple papers around our body of work of how we use deep learning to detect these multiple conditions. So we thought we were uniquely positioned to sort of refine our solution to help in the coronavirus battle itself. And this is what our software basically does. So if you feed us a lung CT image, our algorithms immediately can go through the entire image and recognize regions of the image which have any different conditions. So in this image, for instance, all the blue areas, all the yellow green areas, are all areas that have some kind of infection. So it really helps you quantify at a percentage level of the lung how much of your lung is actually affected with coronavirus. And if that number is 0, then it basically means that, hey, this patient is probably pre-symptomatic, or the disease hasn't reached the lung yet. So it's a great way to not just screen but also monitor the patient and try to see how he is progressing, with longitudinally over time, how his disease is progressing and how bad he's getting. And today it's sort of that you can work with practically any CT scanner. We can plug into any IT system, and any lung CT, as soon as it's taken, is immediately run through our cloud-based platform, and you immediately get a report within a matter of less than a minute. You get a report which has all the findings and a PDF report. And so far we've been able to refine it on thousands of viral pneumonias, not exactly COVID patients, but viral pneumonias which have very similar appearances. We've tested in about 20 to 30 COVID patients so far, and it's so far worked on all the patients that we've tested so far. This is a sort of brief examples. On the left, you can see a CT scan. You can see the outlines where you've detected all the coronavirus. This is an actual coronavirus patient, and you can see all the areas that's been detected. On the right, you can see an entire quantification of what else been picked up, how much of fibrosis is there, what is the percentage burden of this patient from a coronavirus finding standpoint. And so that's basically a value proposition. We try to try to fit into one of these three themes of how we are trying to help. One is it's an assistive tool for radiologists who have a lot of scans and need some assistance in reading. It is a great adjunct tool for RT-PCR to establish the gaps in sensitivity that we are seeing. A lot of literature, a lot of hype talking about the fallacies in RT-PCR testing standalone. And most importantly, where we are going to see a lot of traction is that as many more patients come to hospitals, and there's going to be a fight over resources on which patients gets the best care. This kind of disease monitoring and severity monitoring can really help hospitals decide which patients, prognosticate which patients, and give the best care to them. Just as a quick word on where we are in all of this, we just went live with India's largest teleradiology network, a company called 5C Networks, where we're live across 500 sites. We're processing already a couple of 50 to 70 cases a day with them. With LifeTrack Medical, we've gone live in a site in Philippines, where because of the lack of RT-PCR tests, they're using a CT-based triage run with our AI algorithms to actually see which all patients need an RT-PCR. Because it's an island country, again, RT-PCR is in shortage. So CT is an effective tool combined with AI solutions. We're also working with a great group called Cobase to assemble data across India and continue and build a data repository to test and improve these algorithms. We're also in initial talks with the company in Spain, where there is also a lot of interest to integrate and work together to provide the solution for triaging of patients. So that's it. I'm happy to take any questions, and answer further.
Supreet, this was very very inspiring and very impressive. I have one very silly question, that AI, radiology AI, but what is the AI? What is the different AI here which any other radiology scan or radiology detection cannot find? How is your thing different? I didn't get that.
So a typical radiology scan is a few hundred slices of images. And being able to look at it, it is not easy for a radiologist to actually look at it and be able to say, hey, how much of the and being able to just monitor that patient over time is today not a feasible task. It either will take a radiologist multiple hours, or they end up not doing it at all. So this AI, basically what it helps and how it helps is basically it helps you put a percentage number on what is the disease burden, how much of the patient's lung has changed over time, and how rapidly is his condition deteriorating. Which without the power of AI will be a very, very mundane task to do, and radiologists simply will not do it.
But don't you need a lot of data to have a very capable AI, right? Like you will need to study a lot of patients and work on a lot of patients to be more effective, right?
So the way it works is, right now the findings of COVID-19 are very similar to a lot of other viral pneumonias that we've seen. And so far we've used a lot of those viral pneumonia data to train our algorithms that we've already had access to. So far they are the findings on. So you cannot differentiate across the viral pneumonias, and that is where I think RT-PCR comes as a great answer. But if you know it's a viral pneumonia, viral infection in your lung, you can probably narrow it down in this day and age that it's probably going to be coronavirus.
Very impressive, Dr. Taslim. This is very
absolutely. This is again, I think the early mover in terms of using the tech in healthcare to assist what already happening is a very important aspect, because I'm sure more people will come in later. But during these difficult times, if we have technology which has accessed the data which are available from Canada, which are available from other resources, and train your algorithms to be able to at least build some support case for the healthcare system now is very important. And I hope using this platform, otherwise we will be able to share with people so that they can use it and then take it forward. So I think it's very, very important that they have done it. So thank you so much for that on that. The next one is also as very exciting. And when I heard first time, I was like, okay, this sounds very, very good. But once you study more, you see a broad perspective on that. The next one is something where they have been able to do something in TB before. So they were working in the zone of tuberculosis, where they were actually looking to use sound of the cough to be able to assess, the kind of respiratory disorder you may have. Would it be an obstructive or it be a restrictive kind of thing? And that's very, very important. Now think of it. Anybody using that capability to say that you are coughing right now. If I walk around in my apartment and if I'm, a bit on a higher side of coughing, if I cough, suddenly everyone thinks, okay, you are prone to that. But think of it, if you use your own phone and actually use that to understand that, no, you are nowhere closer to that, or you may be closer to that. It's a huge thing for a 1.4 billion population that we are looking at, including the rural area. And the cell set friends actually have been able to use their traditional approach in TB to actually come to that level, but they're not necessarily saying that it is a COVID infection or not, but they're able to distinguish between what kind of respiratory or disorder you fall under, and then if you're falling under that, you may be able to go to the next level. So it falls as a pre-screening, a self pre-screening, no healthcare professional required to be able to do that. But it should come with a disclaimer that do not depend on it, but make sure that you want to take it forward. So I think I would like to introduce CellSit friends to be able to share that.
Thank you, Dr. Taslim. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, hi, I'm Narayan Rao from CellSit Technologies. So our vision is the respiratory health unbound. What we mean really by that is at the heart of our solution is basically a patented and validated machine learning model that allows us to bring the functionality of spirometry unbound by time, space, specialized instrument, and skill. So this core ability essentially allows us the solution to be rapidly deployed at scale and survive. So we use, as Dr. Taslim mentioned, we use audiometric evaluation of respiratory sounds like cough and adventitious sounds, to provide, as I mentioned, the functionality which is very similar to what a spirometry does today, which is a gold standard for identifying the respiratory problems a person has. With that kind of a background, let me just share quickly. Can you see my slide?
Yeah. Please keep it in time. We are against time.
Sure. Yeah.
Do a technology directly, and then we can.
Yeah. So basically, we repurposed our technology for the COVID-19 screening. As you can see here, in a COVID screening funnel, it's actually impractical and impossible to test 130 crore population in India. So if you look at it, the first level of screening might be like a temperature or a pulse oximeter, and after that is where we see ourselves providing that value addition in terms of second level screening using the cough analysis. Then after that, once the people are get prioritized in terms of who need to be taken for the further investigation, the subsequent test can be done. This is basically from a value proposition perspective. What I will do is that I will actually give a quick demo of what the solution which we have, so that you will be able to understand what I'm talking. Can you see it, Dr. Taslim and team?
Yeah.
So basically, we have this is an application which a user can download onto the mobile. Once he downloads, after he completes the basic registration and so on, he can do the scanning. So here
we are only able to see the slide, not anything else. You might have to reshare your screen if you are sharing something else.
Okay, sure.
Or my suggestion would be that in the interest of time and we can stay connected, I think you can describe your innovation, and I'm sure there will be a detailed discussion with you later on.
Sure, yeah, I understand. Can you see the slide right now, the video?
Yeah.
So basically, this is the application which user will be downloading onto the mobile. So we will provide a composite risk score based on the WHO guidelines and also the cough analysis powered by our SWASA platform. So once I download it, the user will be asked to provide some information about the basic symptoms he has, like the body temperature and so on, kind of a thing. After that, he will also be asked to cough into the application. Yeah, so a cough into the microphone. Based on the information collected using the cough sound also, we will come up with a composite risk score. which is like this. So basically, in a scale of 1 to 10, based on the information which the person has provided, he is currently at 7. And he can also look at the risk trend, how the risk is varying over a period of time. So this is the application which a user can download onto the mobile, and he can actually do the assessments periodically as and when he wants it, morning, afternoon, and so on, kind of a thing. Okay. Next one, what we have is a dashboard for the health practitioner.
Correct. So just to in terms of, so largely where do you stand in terms of somewhere you have said that you are to be implemented. So where do you stand? And
now our implementation is ready, and we are integrating our solution with one enterprise health service provider. Hopefully we will go to through the health service provider, we will go to market by middle of next week or end of next week.
Okay.
That's in India. And we also have a few customers in Canada, who are actually we evaluated, and they are planning to deploy again for the COVID, by end of next week or middle of week after next week.
Excellent.
And we do have some customers from Australia as well. But in India, the help what we need is really in terms of reaching out to the government organizations. Like for example, for an identified cluster, we can deploy our solution wherein, like, the people can download the application, they can do periodic assessments, and the information will be visible through a dashboard to the health practitioner or a doctor, wherein they will be able to identify people who are at risk, and they will also be able to understand the respiratory condition associated with that particular person at an individual level based on the cough sound characteristics. So they are in a position to prioritize people for the next level of investigation.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you. That is very, very exciting.
Yeah, and we have a granted patent, and we have a couple of publications which are also recently got accepted on this technology.
So I will quickly share a product brochure that I have.
Please do.
That would give you a perspective.
Yeah, sure.
Just allow me 20 seconds.
You can share with Debarshini around. That should be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I will share the product brochure, and we have an APK readily available. It's a private APK on Android that we are doing our pre-pilots. I could share that as well. And most importantly, for the home-based screening, we provide real-time results that well within under 5 minutes, you get to see your symptom score and also your cough pathological nature that's available as a report, which provides a parallel coordinate graph which all the necessary variables. Variables is a part of a secret sauce. We do not talk about it. But then again, how you represent yourself within the pathological and the healthy population. So that's what we provide in real time. I'll share the APK and the product brochure to kind of get your feedback and allow us to anticipate for the next steps.
Please do. Thank you. So I think, just in the interest of time, I will just request Ashwin from Akinist, which is also doing very exciting work in X-ray and CT scan, AI/ML. So if you can keep one slide and quickly tell us about your innovation, Dr. Ashwin.
Yeah. So thanks for the opportunity. So myself, I'm an experienced entrepreneur, and we have a team who have tons of experience running successful companies. So the interest here is that today what we see is that the COVID testing is very slow, and diagnostics labs are not using the latest imaging technologies, and physicians lacks assistance for quick diagnosis, right? So what we are going to provide with the ICANN solution is AI-based detection using X-ray and CT scans. So it is very low cost. It costs as much as 50 rupees per scan. So you can see that X-ray machines are available anywhere in India. So they can just take the X-ray and then upload into our server, and then we can get the diagnosis, whether it's a COVID-19 patient or a non-COVID-19 pneumonia. So it is used as a great pre-screening tool for RT-PCR tests. The way, as I said, it is completely cloud hosted, and it can take and provide results within 1 minute, and it is scalable to tens and millions of scans. Similar kind of technology has already been actually widely discussed and deployed for better detection. So basically the classification that it comes is into whether it is a normal case or it's COVID-19 pneumonia or non-COVID-19 pneumonia. And it takes less than 1 minute to do all the things, and then it's compatible with all the X-ray machines. And the same thing can be extended to CT machines and one of the solutions we discussed. So what we got is about, we have about 500 patients data. We got about 90% detection rate. And this is as an AI-based technology. As we add more data, it's going to actually, really improve a lot. And there is a lot of things, of course, in the interest of time, I don't want to actually delve in much into the research aspect, how it can actually augment RT-PCR, how it can be combined in a protocol way, providing a very effective solution. But what we can tell is that it can be deployable from anywhere. Okay, all we need is that a mobile phone or anything. They take the X-rays and then just upload it, and then they get the initial results. From there onwards, they can quarantine the patient, and then further analysis can be done using the RT-PCR test. So that finishes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ashwin. Thank you. Again, I think this covers our 4 AI/ML based approaches in terms of assistive technologies for a larger healthcare aspect. Just to indicate, what would be your status for now in terms of approaches? What would you need going forward to be integrated in the system?
So, we have a deployable system. What we need is a kind of trials that we want to do with hospitals.
Okay.
So we are ready to do. So we are looking for some opportunities where we can start an engagement initially. So what we expect is within 1 month we complete all the trials with a few hospitals, and then we go for wide deployment. So going forward, as we see that within 1 month it may be more cases, and they want to do a better screening, and there is no better option because RT-PCR takes a lot of efforts to get this fab, okay, and then get it tested. So it's a lot of time. So in between, with this kind of solution, it's very portable, easily manageable solution can be used.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think again we are hoping that innovations like yours would be able to quickly move into the system, because which takes otherwise a bit longer. But once you move in, there is a lot that you can do based on your ability to assess the work. So I think we are hoping that would be done, and we will be in touch with you. I'll quickly move to something that we touched base in the first week stars, which was rapid diagnostics. It is still a challenge. And today or yesterday, you would have heard, Shradha, that we imported around 4 lakh diagnostic kits from China. So we are still at the scale where we do not have enough diagnostics kits available. And because of loss, already we can't test many people. So we have Huel, which actually has now gone ahead and got an approval from ICMR for its diagnostic kit. So they are all set to be in the market, and they are starting with the manufacturing super soon. So we are very excited about them getting through that. They may need some support in terms of the early funding and all, which we'll work with you on that. As you know, that ACT is a partner with us for the CCDIS too. So we'll work on that. So over to you from Huel. Shishir, Dr. Shishir.
I think there's a bandwidth issue with his connection. Can somebody just check with him and call him? Niranjan?
Sure.
Shall we move to UBCare?
I think, yeah.
Let us know. I think he's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could hear you guys, but hello.
Yeah. Please. So over to you if you can hear me. Tell us about your work.
Yeah. Essentially, Huel is nothing to do with China, or its Huel is human welfare. So I represent Huel. which we make real-time PCR, not rapid. So, but essentially we make everything in-house. The good part is we make our own enzymes. We make all the components in-house. So that makes us different, and we actually can, based on the enzymes itself, we got, can you hear?
Dr. Sushil, I request you to go audio only so that your
No. Anish, I want his interview because this is very important. So my request is that can you log off and log on, and we can go off screen so that he can be captured.
I can see you guys. I can hear.
Okay, then can you start again, please, Dr. Shishir? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Shishir. I represent a company called Huber Life Sciences, which is at the back. We are in the company working now. So we are working for the last 20 days continuously. Essentially, we make molecular diagnostic, real-time PCR-based diagnostics. So whole process, as others said, still the real-time PCR is a gold standard. And we make our own enzymes. And like other companies where they import and then
Anish, can you hear him? I can't.
No, that's what I was saying, Shraddha. This is a bandwidth issue. It won't be going.
Bandwidth issue at his end?
Yeah. So his bandwidth is low. That's why this is happening. So either he can go audio only and we can check that, or we'll have to log in and log off and log in again. So that can happen in the back end.
Then we should get him to log off and then log in, no?
Yeah. So Niranjan, if you can just call him and say that.
Yeah, sure. I will do that.
Person.
Yeah, I will do that.
Yeah.
You know, till then, I had a question for Dr. Taslim. If I can, maybe we can cover that.
Surely, absolutely.
So Dr. Taslim, this week, what was most exciting is that, we've been talking about technology, and most of the companies today are like last time it was biotech, bio companies, but this is like real tech, AI, being used for healthcare solutions. I just wanted to understand that you working so closely with such companies, how do you see investment, venture capital funding happening for such enterprises?
Yeah, interesting. So I think there can be two answers for this. The first answer would be that I think absolutely this is the way that we have to go forward in terms of health tech. I'm a big believer in it because health tech or digital health would allow us to equip our last mile workers.
Yeah.
The ASHA workers, the Anganwadi workers and all, because which are otherwise most of the healthcare is dependent on instruments which are only done by the skilled human resource. So health tech would actually equip and give the weapons in the hands of the ASHA workers, which is going to be very important. So conventionally, I think the health tech startups are the ones who can attract more than the pure biotech because of the assurity, because of the less risk involved in terms of the tech aspect of it.
And the scale that you can show, right?
No doubt. So there are some pluses for that, and it can scale humongously and so on. So that's one. In this times of COVID, I think I'm hearing, and I'm possibly no one to profess here, but I'm hearing that there has been a tight fist approach that is being seen in terms of the investors. But while at the same time, we have someone like ACT come together. Traditional investors have been a bit tight-fist, and I think this is where an interesting match can happen. I can also think that if governments, like SIDBI is one, if government had fund of funds or equivalent, and something they can say that we already have fund of funds, if the VCs can come and match 1-to-1 or something, could have been an interesting thing for COVID-related approaches, because a lot of them are seeking support for that. So what I wanted to share is that there are two views. Traditionally, health tech, important, will get the first preference possibly. Second, right now, even health tech during this time, I haven't seen something very excitingly picked up.
Yeah, because I'm just the more week after week I do this session with you, and sometimes I'm just thinking that it's so ignored, and people like us also, we track startups, and for me, all these companies are so surprising and such innovations. And I'm saying that, are you seeing VCs invest enough, or angels invest enough? Because it might not be like the food delivery apps or not, but this is so critical, and we can't realize how important it is. But now,
No, absolutely, absolutely. So while this happens, I hope that of course there are people who will say that, okay, what would happen after 2 months? Would you be also? So that's where I think the business model alignment will be key. That while I can pivot my technology for this, but I have a bigger picture. I have a long term picture to address a larger thing, and that would be a play that hopefully will happen. But if I may say so, if you take a step back, I think the worldwide people will now understand that investment in science and innovation is key, be it a government or investment in terms of private investment.
But I also have to tell someone, I also have to bring to light someone like you, because I think you bring both the worlds together very well. I think the challenge also happens because most of the people with money would not understand this, right? Or will take the effort to go deep into understanding. And if you don't understand, you won't understand the scale or returns.
Correct.
Right? And
business trends are possibly different. And for us who are more with deep dive into science, but at the same time building science for innovation, I think we do hope that this will happen. And as I said, possibly in my our first engagement on the first week, I think this is really a silver lining. This is something which will actually change the way innovators themselves being confident, the government being confident in innovation, and investors being confident in the innovation that we can do this. So
are you thinking of creating some kind of a fund, like a joint government, and you are in best place, no? And what would require to get both the worlds together?
Exactly. So I think one approach would be that government has the agencies to support this. Like there are BIRAC, then there is NSTDB, then there is other agencies which support industry. TDB is there, and then SIDB is there. Others are there. One way to actually add to this is that invite private investors and saying that we are already doing it. Can you come and match, or can you come in partially and see what you can do? So there is a risk that has been shared by government and private players. Because the fund is already available, the idea would be to just open it up for partnership with private players so that there is a movement on private investment. Otherwise, at least I have not seen much movement on private investment part. ACT is a great initiative of support in terms of philanthropy, but the private investment is a different ballgame here.
I think we should discuss post-lockdown. I was just thinking one of the ideas was like we should get all the investors, HNIs and angels together, and we should have these innovators showcased, no?
I think absolutely, because I think putting them together, and YourStory is a real platform to actually support that cause. And I think we come to our last, but a very interesting a duo of entrepreneurs who have, after a long stint in possibly in different worlds, including corporate, have decided to look at something very interesting, and should have a view on this as well, where they have now a kind of a cloud-based system which allows connecting doctors with patients who possibly have just gone out of the hospitals and manage their capabilities. Because this is another very important aspect during these times. If their system, which is already deployed and HIPAA compliant and so on, if that could actually be integrated even in a pilot in a smaller state, it would be very useful to see how that can increase the efficiency and efficacy of the healthcare system when patients possibly move out and so on. So over to Sundar and Sridhar, both good friends of mine, to share your comments.
Thank you very much, Taslim. Sridhar, should I go first or you want to go first?
No, why don't you go first?
Okay. So thanks very much. UBCare Health is about 2.5-year-old company. We have been taking care of patients of far more serious illnesses for the past 20 months. People who get discharged from hospital after cancer, stroke, chronic ailments. And we recently also have published statistics that 96% of the episodes that they undergo at home are managed at home. So the impact of not having to travel to hospital for those many number of times is a very interesting efficacy indicator for us. Of course, the rest of the things are in place. The specialist is happy, the patients are happy. With regard to COVID as such, we wanted to repurpose this to see how we can address the aspect of COVID. So maybe Sridhar, you want to talk about the 3 points that we are targeting for COVID?
Yeah, actually the thing is, in the previous version, we were combining a technology and a clinical workforce to provide a service at home wherein people can be given doctor-driven specialty care. Now, we repurposed this to see how the platform can be remodeled or enhanced to ensure that we are able to reach out to patients in the stage where they're mild or even asymptomatic confirmed cases, where we can handle a large number of infections, nearly 80% of the total burden, which are in this kind of a stage, away from hospitals, in places like homes or makeshift isolation wards. We are trying to minimize the physical health worker patient interaction through our platform, so as to ensure that through this platform, it's possible for the doctor or healthcare worker to interact and actually guide and supervise and monitor what is required to be done at home. We are using digital healthcare technology to enable the clinical team to handle a large number of patients. So that way speaking, patients who are really in need of moderate and severe state can actually get attention in the hospital wards or hospital isolation wards, while a large number of such cases can be taken care even at home quarantine or home isolation.
Yeah, so this is a brief picture of how it works. So there is this cloud-based platform that Taslim was talking about. We also employ a clinical network. The platform connects these two, and the patient at home and the specialist and the doctor can be anywhere. They get cared for. And these would be the various functionalities that we bring in through this, by the regular monitoring, daily triaging, and also collaborative workflow. In fact, the impact of this would be, like in COVID, the numbers of asymptomatic and mild and moderate cases. Asymptomatic and mild would be huge. Almost 70 to 80% of them would be in this stage. And this would otherwise be a huge burden on the hospitals. So being able to monitor the conditions at home during home quarantine, and even for the moderate cases, sometimes there could be makeshift isolation wards. And how do we manage these people in those places through medical attention, triaging, determining the next course of action, sending a health worker to collect some samples. All these things can be digitally coordinated, and the information flow happens there. There is a dashboard. So with this, we managed to handle a large number of people. We managed to minimize the healthcare workers' exposure to patients, because a lot of interactions can happen virtually. And we also are able to, because of the digital information, we can have a huge efficiency factor there, that a small clinical team in a zone or in a district can actually handle a large number of patients of the order of maybe 5,000, 10,000 or so.
And we plan to add the other IoT or BT-enabled devices, including teleauscultation devices, in this roadmap down the line, to ensure that even people who are in which have to be monitored in isolation wards or in moderate conditions can also be monitored by specialists who are far away remotely to get their symptoms up to them in real time. And that is what is in the pipeline to build. So we actually looked into saying that what is required immediately in terms of a dashboard to doctors in teletriaging manner, and in the future, integrate devices for remote monitoring and remote auscultation for specialists to have better examination of a remote patient.
Thank you so much, both of you. I think one aspect that I possibly didn't bring out was the ability to even support the patients who are either under observation, even not only post the disperse thing. So I think that aspect is, so what I was just on a sideline, we must do two things. One is that get in touch with the health ministry officials in Karnataka. We can try to do that separately to see if they can connect you in the system, and we can write a letter regarding that. Because this is a support, again, this is a tele support, a cloud-based support for managing that aspect, which otherwise is not available, and they could very well take it up and run with that.
Absolutely. In fact, we are already in touch with somebody there who is part of CM's task force.
Okay.
And interestingly, he's saying, I am also interested in using this for non-COVID patients, right? So, because they also don't want, they don't want them to step out of the house and go to the hospitals.
So
right?
don't let that person go, Sundar. Don't let that person go.
Yeah. Oh, he's in my phone book. He won't go.
It's crushed. Don't let that go. So
we are talking to him. We are talking to him.
You
And
know, I
hopefully
was
tomorrow.
thinking even the government officials for a change will wake up to all these things, no, and value it, because everyone is affected in this.
correct. Absolutely. So this is going to be very interesting, I think, as well, Shradha, because this, as I think they have gotten traction from the Chief Minister's task force, I think, which is headed by Dr. Devi Shetty, and so on. I think it's very important that those guys see that you can be integrated in that. And based on that approach, if there is a need that is required, we will try to see funding and other support required. We will work in the background to see how that can be supported as well.